Not
Somewhat.
necessarily. It's like for a screen reader
Mhm.
to access it.
So like tags as heading 1 versus paragraph versus table, and then a table has tags and such in it.
So first so the gist of it is to like, so it can be, what is the word in English? Read aloud. Like you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, like your little iPhone app or
Okay.
whatever you have.
And then also like there's stuff for like colorblind.
Yeah.
But like that's pretty simple, I think. Like,
And I don't know that it was on here, but something that I did was get rid of all caps, because I was told by somebody else for my website that all caps is inaccessible to people with dyslexia.
Oh,
All
okay.
caps is remarkably hard to read.
So I got rid of the all caps.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which, you know, our new Netherland Town logo that we just designed is all caps.
Yes. Yeah. I think at least with logos, you can tag them in certain instances as decorative, and then other ones you can just say like Town of Netherland logo, and then it won't like read the text at least, but.
Yep, and I put in alt descriptions on the logos, but
yeah,
it was just my stab at it, so.
I think they can be pretty simple unless it's like a graph that's not like if you have a graph.
The guidelines, they can be simple, but
Yeah,
really the more descriptive, the better.
Yeah, but like if you have a graph and you don't explain it in the text, I think that's when like the alt text matters, because if you just say a graph, then like they don't know what that is.
Yeah, the PDF instructions is just, you have to open it in a special reader, which it sounds like you guys have, where you can make sure the tags from the headings and links and everything transfer over into the PDF. So font size 1.5 spaced. Don't use empty paragraphs. You know, use the line spacing.
Mm-hmm.
You have anybody online?
Just the note taker.
Woo. I did do meeting minutes. Did end up doing meeting minutes for last month. But they came in at the last minute, and I'm still need to do a spot check to make sure they're good. But
Yeah, not a problem. We can do it next week.
I think.
So how many SAB members do we have now? 3, Erica and Rob.
And is there one new person that was appointed or 0?
Did I
No.
get reappointed?
You'll be since the application period closed on the 23rd, you'll be reappointed on the 1st.
Did I get reappointed? I was told I was on like a consent agenda.
You are, yeah, you were reappointed because that was the first round that it was open, yeah. And
So I
then,
missed the first round and put in for the second.
yes.
So how many members then of the board do we have currently?
So that's what I was just counting. I think we only have 5 now, which means a quorum would be 3.
Yeah.
So you have quorum,
we have a
technically.
quorum.
And I was told by Erica that she'd be virtual, and by Rab that he would be in person. And he did just text me, so I don't know. We might be, oh yeah, so he's right here. Okay, perfect. We were just talking about you.
Yeah, I just, you know.
Nice.
All right, well, I guess we'll call the meeting to order at 6:46 PM. We are gonna do minutes next month. If you could send out the link to them to the SAB email, just so people have it to review them.
Oh, Erica's online now.
Welcome, Erica. Between now and next month, people can do that. And then we will start with our first discussion item, the town code updates.
Actually, we need to do a roll call.
Oh,
It's on the agenda.
yes, and normally we decided something a few meetings ago about that. What did we decide? I can't remember.
I think we decided we had to do it
Because of the virtual stuff.
because of some kind of state.
In minutes, almost.
Not
I may be
that
remembering
level of
something else.
detail. It's probably,
I think we can just say we have all five
So-
members of SAC present, that those are the current five members. There are no additional members that are not here.
Perfect.
great,
I'm gonna close that door if that's okay. with you.
that'd be great.
It will stay unlocked.
All right.
Just have background music on our YouTube recording.
Like it's clean.
I think we're ready. Britt, if we have a presentation for us, or are you just gonna talk?
Yeah, so I just got back the draft for the 2024 energy code updates. So I'm not going to be able to present anything until next meeting.
Okay.
I didn't realize this was on there, so I apologize for that. But we are currently working on it. So my goal would be to show you what we're on now and what the updates would look like. So we can go more in depth, if that works for everyone.
Yep.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we're working with a representative from the state who does it, the drafting for free. And so I was kind of on her timeline. It just didn't work out.
Eric, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, just wanted to ask, like, Britt, is there any way that we can support you with updating to the 2024 IECC? The differences from 2018 to 2024, or like whatever may be helpful. I know there's also like the solar amendments and things like that the town has. So I know it's a big lift, and just wanted to say, like, how can we help?
Yeah, no, so this first draft came out and we're kind of doing it with our little subcommittee, just reviewing it with like Attorney Madison and making sure it's appropriate. And then the goal would be to do community outreach and come to the boards. So I'd say when we come then, kind of what I've been doing is getting some feedback from developers too on like what things are like not completely, maybe not doable, but would create a lot of cost. But what we've seen is going from 2018 to like 2021, there was a lot of cost. And then going to 2024, it actually brought the cost down for builders. But it's very like, I'd say EV friendly and more efficient energy wise. So just really probably having you guys dig through that portion of the draft when I present that would be awesome. But otherwise, this state support that we've had has really been the most helpful. It's just me kind of wrangling everyone to start getting prepped for the community outreach part.
Got it. Thanks, Britt.
Are we gonna be adopting all of the appendices as part of our town code? We know?
Are you talking about for the 2024?
Yeah, because it looks like a lot of the provisions in there are in these very long appendices.
Yeah, so probably not. Shannon and Andrew Jocelyn and have really been kind of digging in it together, and then Safe Built, because we already have like a bunch of primary amendments essentially that cover some of these extra things in 2024. But every year we kind of critique it a little bit more to the town. So there's some stuff that we omit that's not required by state, and then there's some stuff that we keep. But that usually comes with, again, like the community outreach portion, hearing from developers, and then just hearing from like board members.
One of the portions that's in one of these voluntary appendixes is solar readiness requirements. And it's in 2024, it's been shifted from a mandatory requirement to voluntary requirement for those solar readiness requirements, so it would be interesting to get your feedback on what you think about making those, adopting the appendix as mandatory with respect to some of those solar energy requirements.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, that's probably something I'd look for support from some of you guys, just because you know, some of you guys might have a more thoughts on that. I'm not entirely sure yet. Really, on some of those, my goal was to really dig with developers, but also keep in mind like our 2025 comprehensive plan that just came out. Kind of going that route. So like I haven't really dug in too much to the draft yet, since I just got it this week. So I wouldn't say I have a strong opinion yet since I haven't read through it quite as much.
Okay, yeah, it's most of the solar readiness criteria is just availability of breaker space in the electrical panel, and then continuous roof space of basically like yeah, there's a specific square footage of roof space that needs to be clear for new construction. That's really all that is in there.
Do we know what Boulder County is doing? I mean,
For their building code.
yeah, are they adopting the 2024?
So they
they already done
adopted, yeah, I was gonna say they adopted 2018 and their goal was like in 6 months to adopt 2024 was the last I heard. I don't know, Erica, if maybe you've heard something different, but that's what Andrew Jocelyn had told me.
Yeah, there's a whole energy code cohort that Boulder County and a bunch of municipalities are part of. And the goal is to adopt every 3-year update on a pretty timely plan, with the goal that homes would be fully net zero by 2030. And I might be misspeaking here, but yes, the whole energy code cohort, I believe Netherlands participates in that, correct?
I have
Yes.
not.
Oh,
Britt, have you gone to those meetings?
I thought I was on a meeting for it, but I don't know. I'm on so many meetings right now. I think we're a part of it. I'm not sure that we've been to every meeting for it, though.
Yeah, and that makes sense. There's so many meetings, but it's also part of the Dr. Cog funding piece too. So that's
Oh,
that's
is
a
it the
part of it
building?
as well.
Is it the building policy collaborative?
I think that's like a new version that's coming, Cass. I get kind of
Okay.
confused because there's been like FURBN, the Front Range Beneficial Electrification Network. There's the
Yeah.
Building Policy Collaborative. There's the Energy Code cohort, because the Energy Code cohort was like version 2, because they had one a few years ago as well. So I think
Okay.
there's a lot in this space right now. But the one thing I was raising my hand because I'm not sure if Soul Smart requires that we adopt the Solar Ready amendments, because Netherlands is Soul Smart Silver designated. So that would be worth looking into, Cass and Britt, to find out if there's any stipulations there, because we just wouldn't want to lose that designation.
Yeah,
and
what Boulder County passed in March of this year is the 2021 IECC, including appendices CB, CD, RB, and RD.
yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, I got the years mixed up. And their goal is in 6 months to go all to 2024 changes. I think the solar makes sense to have that, because like another thing in the 2024 is that you have to have everything set up. Even if you're not going to have an EV charger, you have to have everything ready as if you were going to install one, and that is a requirement. And I think that's something that we are interested in, or that's something that I think could be beneficial.
A lot of this stuff has been implemented at scale in other states as well. Without
Yeah, I mean,
much
so
pushback. It doesn't tend to be too onerous.
the 2021 version of the IEC code has the solar readiness requirements as mandatory. 2024 just dropped them as two voluntary. So it would be, I think, a small lift to convince folks to retain those as mandatory.
Yeah, and I honestly think a lot of the new builds I see anyways, they install solar. So I really don't think this would be that big of a hardship on developers, but I can definitely chat with them. But I agree with you. I think it makes sense to keep it mandatory instead of voluntary.
Yeah, and extra panel space is good for a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I bet Andrew Jocelyn would probably be on board with that too.
I just want to say out loud that it's really exciting that Netherlands looking at the 2024 IECC. It's not easy. So way to go.
Yeah, my goal, so when I went to the board, my goal is if we go to 2024, I would like to be very similar to like Boulder and really be consistent where we haven't always updated every, 3 years and been timely on that. So the goal is for that to happen. And now that I think in some of these roles that we're not having turnover in, I think it can continue to happen that way because it's just we're seeing so many different building code years and like the contractors and the developers are like, what year are you on?" And it's really confusing, but I felt 2024 was kind of more bang for our buck after like we really dug through like the difference between 21 and 24, which that will be in the presentation too, just to like make everyone aware of like this is also why we went to 2024. And the goal is to adopt it, start having first hearings. I believe we were talking about like fall timeline at the latest. So start having those hearings so that we have time for engagement. And then the fire department has to go to their board and they have to go to Boulder County as well. And we work independently with them. So our state representative and Andrew Jocelyn and Attorney Masson have really been digging into this. So I think we'll still remain on that timeline, but obviously I'd like to get it in front of the boards to just get some of their opinions on this stuff too.
All right, any final thoughts on that?
We have any members of the public online?
No.
So we don't need to ask if there's public comment, since we have no public.
Kind of just restating process on that.
Yeah.
Brittany just got the updated code. We will see it when it comes out for like public view and community engagement and can provide feedback at that time, at which point it would make sense to deep dive into the appendices. Great.
Yeah, and I think
I think she's coming back next meeting, right?
With a presentation, high level.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to present to you guys and not just have you come public feedback too, just to get, some of your thoughts on like that solar readiness and the EV and just anything else that you guys might have experience with or like, being like, that's not, the town definitely can't do that. So yeah, my goal would be to present to you guys next meeting and have more in-depth material of what it's looking like compared to what we have now.
This may just be my working style, but it's helpful to get hands on the document about what
Yeah.
you're thinking about. Because codes are detailed and there's a lot in there.
Yeah, I would probably send out the draft like in advance to when you guys usually get the packet, just so you guys can dig into it a little bit more.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Right, thank you, Britt. And we'll move on to any subcommittee updates that we have, starting with zero waste subcommittee.
Well, I'll let Cass go through what we did, but I will just say we actually had, I believe, 3 members of the public present at our latest zero waste subcommittee meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen a member of the public attend one of these, so.
Mhm.
And it was for a specific reason that they were there, and they had a lot to say, but I just found that to be, refreshing that we actually had members of the public that came and participated, really, provided some valuable insights.
Yeah, and they like did that on their own. Like I didn't have to invite anyone. They wanted to be there. So
Great.
that's cool. So the compost unit, I think we've already said this, is up and running, and they just had a like demonstration yesterday that I attended, and they are making pretty good compost, it looks like. They've only had like a few contaminants, mostly like a big chunk of wood, I think was one of them. So like nothing, like no plastic or anything. They're asking people not to put in large plastic bags because it's getting caught up in the auger. So they're trying to move people away from the compostable bags. And yeah, they're getting about 300 to 400 pounds a day, and it can accept up to 600 pounds. So they still have room for that. And then soon, but not yet, they'll be offering compost for free to the public to just come pick up when they want. So
How have the compostable bags been composting?
so when I looked at the final product, there's like bits and pieces of compostable bag in there. What I heard is that Billy at the transfer station he's kind of like in charge of the machine, and he's been taking that finished product and kind of like putting it back in. So that gets even more ground up, and I think they're taking out the like large bags and just not continuing to try and compost those ones. But yeah, like he had like a small sample of the final product, and like I really didn't see any like bag pieces in there. Yeah. More with the transfer station. Not really any updates. They're still planning on having a reuse barn constructed later on. At the farmers market, we're still looking for volunteers to monitor waste there. So far, it's really just been myself and the farmers market volunteer, and then Cinda, who's on the zero waste subcommittee. And I've been reaching out to different places, like Hunter at Eldora, Allie at Teens Inc., Max with the Youth Advisory Board, and Wild Bear, and like posting everywhere, putting in our newsletter. So really trying to get people to sign up. But I don't think it's working. So that is a struggle, but I talked with someone from the farmers market, and like they've had a lot of turnover lately with that main position. And we're kind of like looking at long-term viability of this, and like having someone monitoring the waste stations probably isn't very sustainable. And if we can just like reduce the amount of trash, like landfill, that the vendors are producing, then that would be the best thing. So she seems very overwhelmed right now, but I'm hoping to work more closely with her on that.
One thing I'll note just from history is the reason we started staffing the zero waste stations again was because we found that's the most effective way to actually get a diversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very labor intensive, and it's also really the only way to do it right now. So that's kind of the balance you have to have. Alvin, who used to be on the SAB, also ran the zero waste stuff for NedFest. And he would create like unique displays, like hang above the baby's cradle, word. Mobile, that's it. Of the things that go in each trash can that like hung above each trash can. And
Right.
so that was like a really good way to obviously catch people's eye without having the human there. So there
Yeah.
might be some things we could do.
Yeah, I talked to the Deja, and she brought that to their board, but I think they're not sure they have the funding to like purchase something like that. So I sent her information on like grants, and I know that the Boulder County Circular Economy Grant is opening up, so like that could be a good option. Because I agree, that's like having
We
high
we
level.
also discussed at one point the town investing in those kinds of things and then being able to
Have them
give
at
them out
events.
to events to use.
Yeah,
Garbage mobiles.
Yeah, just like a whole zero waste trash display
Yeah,
unit.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be ideal because talking to EcoCycle, they rented it when they stopped doing the monitoring service. But they started renting out bins to events. And they said that they had the bins and then they had the signs, and they had to stop renting out signs because people kept taking them and keeping them. And it's like, that's not ideal. But I'm sure like if we have a whole unit that it's like you get this unit and then we take it back, that seems like more reasonable.
Yeah, Hunter at Eldora had lent the farmer's market these clear plastic bins
Okay.
that Larry set above the trash cans and put like items from the market that
Mhm.
were in each trash can in those things.
Okay. Yeah, and I want to talk with Nikki because she runs special events. She's the parks manager, and they are kind of like trying to overhaul their process right now because it's really confusing for the applicant. And so like part of that I think should include zero waste, because I've noticed that like at events in the farmers market, like the whole agreement of not, or having the vendor have a trash can, and you just collect recycling and compost hasn't really been followed, but I can't really blame them for that, like, because it's just a lot of work, right? Putting on events like that, especially with so many vendors.
Yeah, I was the market manager when that transition happened.
Yeah.
And basically the board overruled me and said that they wanted to put out a trash can because there was no place for people to throw regular landfill trash. And I was, well, these are our rules. This is zero waste. This is what we
Right.
should do. Especially when we had the food trucks start coming, it was kind of like the food trucks bring so much more business to the market
Mhm.
that made it that important. Each of them usually does still provide their own trash can, but not necessarily the tent tables that give out samples and those things. So there's definitely some work to be done there. But it's a challenge.
Yeah, but with that circular economy grant, that could be something that we apply for.
Yeah.
Is those kind of like zero waste units that we rent out or just have as part of like the special event package.
I mean, it's probably been almost a decade since we reviewed our zero waste event policies in general.
Right. I think there needs to be a review just because I think that the intention behind it is great, but the actual implementation of it, yeah, is not being carried out. And so like talking to Nikki and now Holly, who's doing most of the special event, there's learning all of that stuff, like talking to them about it, I think would make a huge difference because they're the ones directly communicating with the events organizers. And so like they need to be aware of like what is required because yeah.
Erica?
Cass, you were gonna finish. Go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I'm on the TRC meetings, but they're the ones like emailing and calling back and forth. So like they have more communication.
Yeah, I was just gonna throw out an idea, and I know you're gonna talk about the C3 grant. And you already mentioned the circularity grant from Boulder County. It's something that I've looked into a few times now and haven't quite been able to figure out the logistics is like renting out X frames because EcoCycle does loan those out. They're super cheap, but they're not doing the compost X frames anymore, at least last I heard. And we're still requiring compost at our events. And so it's just, it gets really tough for organizers. And I don't know, that could be a really solid grant application. You know, even just getting like 5 trash, recycling, and compost frames. And then they have those great signage above them too, so you can like really utilize that and even like maybe build a mobile off that, Melody,
Yeah.
formally. So I don't know. I'm just want to throw that out there because it's really hard as an event organizer, but yet it's so impactful when they do become more familiar with the requirements. And it's the people that are new to it that really struggle, and the people that have done it a couple of years, like, oh yeah, okay, this is old hat to me. I know what to do. So just an idea.
And part of that could be that we require they have a volunteer monitoring those bins because they have requirements for like parking and for security at the event. And like I understand security is more about like the liquor license and all of that, but I don't see why like we couldn't also say if you're going to have zero waste, which we really care about.
I don't know if it's mandatory in our current policy, but it's definitely called out in it
Yeah,
as best practices. At
Right.
least.
I don't, yeah, I'm not sure if it's mandatory. You're right.
On the composting note, I think the other thing that affects events particularly, and maybe this goes along to why EcoCycle doesn't do the compost ones anymore, is where are we at with composting regarding just like to nowhere and things like that from events? Because I remember one wasn't accepting it, and I'm not sure I ever heard that they started accepting it.
I don't think they're planning on accepting those soon.
So like the cord plastics and then all the paper to go where even the, one of them has like a bamboo plate thing that they
Yeah.
bring at the farmer's market, like we can collect that in compost, but
We can't.
where do we take it to compost it?
That's the thing is I don't know that there's a place close by.
Apparently, a lot of the stuff that's previously marketed as compostable, especially the plastic cups,
Right.
is not.
Yeah, they have a new law about that that's supposed to be on the producer to like only advertise it as compostable if it meets ASTM standards. So they're like, so actually I think there's a way to submit a complaint if you see something and you're like, this isn't compostable, but it's marked as that.
Well, I haven't bought a beer at a festival in a while, so I haven't seen what they say now.
Right,
I
yeah,
do seem to remember getting some that said compostable.
yeah. Who knows if they are.
And then, even regular plastic cups and lids can't go in the recycling. So that's like another reason we started having to have the trash bin is because there's all these things that can't go in the recycling, can't go in the compostable. We need those vendors at the market, so it's like a.
Yeah. But if any of you want to volunteer to monitor waste bins, I'm gonna be gone at the next market, so I can't, I have a wedding to be at, so
When is the next market?
it's on the 6th of July. And there's 2 shifts, 9:30 to 12:30 and then 12 to 3, so they kind of overlap. So just keep that in mind. Or any future ones. Okay, so then the C3 grant, we're still considering restaurant composting. That is why the members of the public were at our meeting. It was Kip from the farmers market, Justin from EcoCycle, and Liz on the farmers market board. And I met with Liz separately afterwards to just go over the survey that I'm working on to basically go around to businesses, ask them about their current waste processes and how much it costs them and see if we can like propose a composting solution that would help cut down on cost and not be too burdensome. And I'm working with Kip, Justin, and Liz to like go around to those places with them so that there's like someone from the community with me who maybe even like knows the restaurant owners. There's, yeah, not a whole lot to report yet, but I'm hoping to gather some data from that, just like pounds of food waste that they're likely going to be disposing of per week, per month, and then trying to determine if it makes sense to have all the restaurants bring their food to the composting unit, or if that would just be like too much food because it can only be up to 600 pounds a day. So if we can like spread that out, it might work. But there's a lot of logistics, I think, that would need to be worked through. And the representatives from the community were talking about their plan to essentially have composting on site in Nederland at like maybe a couple different locations. And so instead of taking the food waste to the transfer station, they want the food waste to be taken to their like composting sites used for food production, and then that food, I don't know, sold or given back to the restaurants in Netherlands. So it's like complete circular economy kind of thing. And that is like their idea. So I'm still wanting to work with them on that because that seems like a great option. But I have yet to go to one of their meetings and like really learn more. So that is coming up.
Yeah, Kip was the last leader of Ned Compost, I believe. Back when it was still a thing, and basically they lost their place of land, and he got Ron Mitchell to host the tumblers for a couple years.
Mhm.
Then it, you know, kind of faded out. But I know the biggest hurdle is getting the compost tested to where
Mhm.
it's food grade.
Mhm.
Like, not making it food grade, that's not the biggest hurdle, it's the actual
testing.
cost of getting it tested and making sure it's up to par.
I wonder if the transfer station is doing that with their unit. I will ask Billy.
Which I don't know how big these C3 grants are, you know, and we're talking about like a restaurant program, but like maybe we're putting the cart before the horse because we need a place to compost these things.
Yeah.
And is it worthwhile into looking into getting our own composter? You know, especially when we're considering what we can do with the stuff coming out of our wastewater treatment plant and like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's for this specific grant application. I'm just pondering thoughts of like, maybe we need our own composter beyond what just the transfer station has.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping once I gather some more data and figure out who in the Netherlands restaurant world wants to actually participate in this, that we'll be able to go to C3 and ask for their free technical assistance and then basically say, here are some of the options. And I think, yeah, including this community group, I think is going to be really important because they, you know, they're like, we don't want to step on your toes and we don't want you to step on our toes. And I was like, for sure. So trying to do they were talking about some kind of like public-private partnership. I'm not sure where they're at with like an actual organization or anything, but
I do know that Liz knows what she's doing when it comes to
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
she did seem very
If
knowledgeable.
they need to create a nonprofit and work together and put an MOU, she will.
Okay.
I have faith in that.
Yeah, and I think there's like enough time, you know, it's a rolling application. It could also like, we could apply for like a mini grant if we want to do a pilot project and just use the transfer station and then expand it later the next year. Yeah, Erica.
Oh, thanks. I didn't want to interrupt, but Western Online says that they do curbside compost pickup. what about just helping them start compost collection, and what are the bag fees being used for in Netherland? Because that could be a good way to kind of help pay and like help them get started. Sounds like we have a lot of compost collection already in Netherland. Maybe we don't need to make more compost.
Yeah, I don't know how much Western Disposal picks up for compost up here.
I thought I was told by Western that they will not pick up compost up here because it costs more fossil fuels to drive up the compost truck than what we're gonna benefit the environment by composting that amount.
I think we've talked about this previously, and that may have been part of it. It also may have been that it was an economic constraint. It didn't make sense for them to haul it here.
Yeah.
But there was reiterating third party. What I've heard from us is that that Western was not interested in doing that haul.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody checked in with them recently?
This was like maybe 2 years ago when I contacted them for our dumpsters at the carousel. I said, hey, do you guys offer composting yet? And they told me, no,
Oh,
not in Netherland.
It might be worth just reaching out again if somebody wants to do that and see like where's the line, because there has been so much more compost, and they have their new sorter. Is it like the Da Vinci machine or whatever? I don't know, and things might have changed.
And if we were to get a lot of restaurants or businesses to commit, like maybe that would change their minds if they're like, oh, we see there is a need. Maybe they're concerned that like there wasn't enough people who would participate or something.
I mean, personally, I think that a local composter is a better option on the whole for everything involved for the circular economy and all that. You know, and not using fossil fuels to use big trucks to come up and down the mountain. But I'd be in support of trying to convince Western to also offer it to the people that already, you know, they contract with to also take that. But I more like the idea of a local compost organization and or town of Netherland compost. Is there any help you need from us in your efforts to do this business outreach and all that?
Does anyone here have a relationship with any restaurant or food establishment owners?
Just when I go to the.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
If you're a customer, they know you.
I know who one of the owners of Trace Amigos is. We probably all do, but.
I don't.
But
You want to come with me
you have
to
to
talk to
go
them?
certain days of the week for her to be there. Carrie is her name.
Do you know which days?
I think she works mostly weekdays,
Okay,
but I only go there in the evening,
okay.
so I don't know who's.
Yeah, and I was gonna like reach out, like email and see if anyone would respond as well to like set up an appointment to talk to them, but
She's one of the gringos,
okay.
so,
Well, and the guy who owns the laundromat is one of the gringos.
and I
Okay.
think the other one's out of town, investor, so.
I haven't spoken to Audrey in a while, but I do know her, at Sweet Sue's.
Okay,
And then I know Kyle over at BC Brews.
Mhm.
But he's really easy about all this stuff anyway.
Do you have a card?
I do.
I'm gonna probably go there this weekend,
Yeah.
and then I can give it to someone I know in there who's like the assistant manager.
Yeah.
And ask her, have Carrie give you a call.
That would be great.
Now, whether she calls you or not, I don't know.
I actually get to
She
use
can have an
these.
attitude sometimes.
yes.
I know, but if you walk over and talk to her in person, you know. I'm trying to think of what else there is. I mean, Rashawn owns the diner now too, right? So she's got
Yeah.
the 3 restaurants she owns. I don't know if she'll send you to somebody else for the Thai restaurant.
Liz said that she would talk with me and Rashawn together, But yeah, that is a good question. I think it would be all three of them. Like the Kathmandu, Ubuntu. Yeah, is it? Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Is it
Mountain Peak
still in,
Cafe.
I thought it closed, is it?
Mountain
Open
something
again?
Cafe.
It closed. Yeah, reopened recently, I think.
It closed after it reopened. Did it reopen again?
Yes.
After it reopened?
I think it's,
So it was Knit Diner, and then it was like that retro
Yeah,
style, whatever they were.
Diner bar.
Diner bar,
Right,
and now it has reopened again,
as,
Mountain Peak Cafe.
not
And
Peak Cafe.
it's got killer donuts.
Is it only open for like
I've heard
breakfast and lunch, or is it?
Great question.
Okay,
I think they have like a happy hour on the weekends,
Okay.
like in the afternoon. What I heard. Erica, is that an old hand or a new one?
Yeah, I was gonna plug, I have done some compost outreach. So I've talked with definitely Crosscut and I think some others. I did the initial outreach with Matt Hannon. So
Yeah.
if he can help at all, it's probably
Yeah.
worth reaching out to him.
I did talk with him. He might be on paternity leave right now. So we connected on this, but I think he's just like doesn't have a ton of time. But we do have plans to like connect again, and he's gonna come up here once he's like done with his paternity leave.
Okay, that's great. And then the other piece is the EPR stuff. So it may be worth plugging that so that they know that they can get their recycling costs covered starting in early 2026. And again, not every hauler has to participate. I'm assuming Western will and all the big ones. But it might be worth like having just kind of a larger waste conversation, especially because they'll be saving money with recycling. So they could put that towards compost.
That's true. That would be a good just kind of like introduction to it. Like, hey, you're saving you can save money this way. Now do you want to be in this like additional program? But that is, I think, everything we had for zero waste, and we'll bring up the like compost, or sorry, the zero waste unit and Boulder County Circular Economy Grant at the next meeting, which is next week.
All right. Anything else on zero waste?
Action items from zero waste between now and the next time we meet. I know there were
Yeah.
a lot of things that were talked through. I want to make sure they don't get lost.
I think connecting with some people that we know in the community that run restaurants, and me doing the survey and hopefully having at least some data to bring back at the next meeting.
The goal is preferences and demand for composting systems.
Yes,
To
and
understand that better.
yes. And I think a big part of it that Justin from EcoCycle kind of made me realize was the cost, and like making sure we're aware of how much they're spending on waste, so that when we bring this like program to them, we're not asking them to spend more, and we're saving them money.
How much we're trying to understand the cost to local businesses.
Yes, they're current costs. Yeah.
And then
Also train cars connection,
Okay. Yes.
because we actually paid for their truck.
yeah.
Oh.
Because you were talking about costs, so I'm like, oh. truck.
Oh. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I should talk to you about that. Okay.
You were connected to the Carousel of Happiness to train
Yeah,
cars
but we-
and to Sweet Sue's potentially. That's great.
Mhm.
Do we have any volunteers for restarting the conversation with Western?
I'll call them as a customer again.
Okay, that's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah, I can do that. It's an
Energy.
easy in.
Sweet. Energy subcommittee?
Well,
Okay.
sorry, real quick.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
John, keep this quick.
You're
I was
good,
just gonna
you're good.
plug, I just remembered, so the conversations that we had, again, a couple years ago, it's, at least for the First Street businesses, it sounded like some type of collective combined compost bin was something they were excited about. They didn't want to go very far, but like Crosscut was already collecting compost and they were sharing it with like a local pig farmer, I believe, if I remember correctly. But again, it couldn't stay for that long. It would go rancid. So just something, Cass, like they seemed pretty receptive to that. But then space is so challenging, right? Like where would it be
Yeah.
and who would manage it? So
Yeah, and I think that, I don't know his name, but the owner of Crosscut is on this like community composting committee that's trying to do this.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a legit.
that's great.
Yeah. Trying to, might just be like John or something.
No.
Are you
it's a
talking
girl.
Seth? Are you talking Seth?
Oh,
Jesse?
okay.
Yeah,
And they're opening another restaurant, right?
In town?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Is it the one in the bank?
No.
I thought that was someone
they're-
else.
No, that was Natalie.
One of the bankers now.
Yeah.
Is it the
I
one
heard
in?
Seth and Jesse are opening another one on First Street.
Cool. I'm
That's
excited.
exciting.
All right. Energy.
Energy, 10 minutes.
Well,
Yeah.
give or take.
Yeah, we definitely went over time.
Rab, you were on slides, I think, from the last time.
Mhm.
How'd that go?
I sent it to a group of folks.
Okay.
I think,
I saw it. I thought it was
yeah, you
good.
responded. I thought you were on that, but
I would have
maybe not.
assumed so. I've been pretty unavailable for the last month. So,
I looked at them and
yeah,
Like,
I
Yeah,
got,
it was a blatant copy paste of the same structure as the AIM or whatever we're calling it.
it looks great to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, and it
Shout out
avoids,
to Cass who put together the template.
did you put together?
we don't have a template, which I was like, why wasn't that part of the brand asset, thing that we got?
We didn't have a
Oh,
template.
Because
And now
it
we
was
do.
a mess. It was a,
I did hear, yeah, that part, but
they did way more work than we actually paid them for, so we didn't quite get everything that we initially were supposed to get. Because there was trade-offs that were made, and
Gotcha.
it is what it is now.
Okay, well, now we have a template.
This looks
Yeah,
great.
yes.
So text heavy, you could maybe use some figures, but it has the
It's-
content, so it's fine.
I think it's great. I think we'll be able to talk through a lot of stuff going through that, which I think is
Yeah,
good.
there's enough words on there that you won't have to practice.
That's my favorite. Cool. The other thing to talk through here, Erica, I wanted to close the loop with you, since you found the Masters of Environmental implementation plan and also linked in the energy action plan that PIE put together. I went through and made a series of edits on top of the ones you had made. But it looked like some of those were made before you found the Masters of the Environment document. So I just wanted to see if we can all get on the same page about how we talk about recs and additionality in there. My recommendation would be we talk about the intent and we talk about the go forward, and it seems pretty ambiguous how we have been accounting or moving forward with those over the past 5 years. But I'll stop there. I just really wanted to get your perspective, most recent perspective, at least.
Yeah. So, Melody, I'd be curious your thoughts too. So the communication on the Sea Boulder website from 2019 says that Netherland was establishing a renewable energy certificate based 100% renewable energy goal. That
And-
also, go for it, Jack.
Sorry, no, this is all you. Sorry.
Well, so I even talked to another member, Jennifer Morris, who was on the board for a really long time, and we actually did a lot of this research together. Like, she did our first inventory for greenhouse gas emissions before Capstone team, and she really put in the application for the Capstone project. And then the two of us were the advisors for the students on that project. And so when I saw that language, I was definitely like, okay, whoa, like what happened here? And I did talk to Jen, like she was in the same agreement, similar to Melody, right? Like we did all this research on additionality and intentionally decided to prioritize additionality when possible. And a big part of it was the cost. Like renewable energy certificates are more expensive. And even with rooftop solar, if you retain your RECs, often that's not financially feasible for at least most residents to afford rooftop solar. And so I'd like to have another conversation. And I know this feels really silly, but I think it's a really important piece to make sure we're all on the same page, because I'm seeing this CU Boulder post from 2019 that says it was a REC-based program for Netherlands, and that could be CU Boulder's interpretation, and we just never caught it, you know?
Well, it's more than just that post though, because it's also the entire document and implementation plan they put together in 2018.
So that implementation plan was not ever officially adopted by us. That was kind of based on their research, what they recommended. And I think we talked about it too, like the whole tracking sheet initially had this like additionality piece and then this kind of buffer for double counting, considering the fact that Excel would also be counting those credits. So it just kind of was messy, and a lot of it's not documented. So unfortunately, and the reason why we didn't document it, to be totally transparent, is because it is a really complex space. And at the time, I think we were also just like, okay, we need more information. Let's do more research. Melody, please like jump in here too. You know,
Yeah, I think what I remember is we agreed to use RECs as the defined method of counting renewable energy as a number. But we did not prioritize or focus on ownership of those RECs. Is that?
And
That's what I remember, because the capstone, I do remember having a discussion with the capstone groups at a SAB meeting about RECs and all this, and we drilled it into them. We don't care about RECs, we don't care about RECs, we don't care about RECs. And they were like, okay, fair enough. But also, there's not another number for us to count renewable energy with necessarily.
in the
Yeah.
current, sorry, go ahead, Erica.
no, pass, go for it.
I was just gonna say the current spreadsheet, I don't see that buffer, so I don't know if there's like a draft iteration that you had or that they gave to you before this one. Or if maybe that's just not documented like you've been saying.
There should have been like notes and comments embedded in the spreadsheet. And it explains it in one of those, is what I thought.
Okay, I will look again.
I think we need to find the OG of the spreadsheet too, Melody, because I think it's changed. Like I have
Yeah.
definitely edited it over the years, So
I guess one way we can tell this story that sounds truthful is that retrospectively, like up until recently, we haven't been there's been inconsistencies around how this has been tracked and implemented. I think that also follows through from the PIE energy action plan you put together, because that's not really focused on, it frames things in terms of renewable energy, but it's not actually focused on attaining the goal. It's focused on energy efficiency. So
Yeah.
I might
And
recommend,
that was for a reason.
yeah, I don't have the context on that
Yeah,
reason.
so
but-
we focused on energy efficiency because Excel would not help us count RECs that aren't ours.
Oh God, okay. Yeah,
So,
that
but
checks out.
But to follow the thread, it's also why we've done such huge efforts on community solar garden subscriptions,
Yeah,
right? Because they don't come with the RECs. And so it follows that thread of like, why would we spend so much time on a community solar garden subscription if it wasn't tied to somehow tied to the goal? So we did the US Solar, we did the pivot. You know, we've done a handful of like really intentional campaigns with Partners in Energy. I mean, they were at definitely the US Solar launch event at Back to Our Theater. But I think what matters for me is at least putting in some of the historical context of these conversations. I think we can also speak to the ambiguity. We can speak to like, here's the uncertainty. Here's what we know, right? Here's what's published in 2019. Here's the plan that was in 2018. And then we talk about, okay, 2025, we definitely want to start with a REC-based accounting system, no question asked. And with that, we're going to hit our goal by 2030. So we therefore want to move towards this beneficial electrification action plan and strategy and goals. I mean, I feel like we're all kind of on the same page with that.
Yeah.
Is that true? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I think the only question I have is how to talk about the history. And I think that makes sense. So I will do one more cleanup. I'm gonna lean away from talking about how we have been doing things. I will frame I'll try to frame in a way that like addresses that ambiguity but centers the intention. And I'll go back to the kind of background paragraph that we put together, and I think put some reasonably strong language around the intent and the reasons why we were focused on and pushing really hard for additionality from the beginning. And I think that will get us to something that is good enough for a go forward.
And to clarify, are we wanting to change the way that, like, I guess not change because it hasn't been consistent the way that we've been tracking, so it's not really like the way we've been tracking. But do we want to do work with Partners in Energy on a tracking system that includes additionality and is not just purely rec based? Because I think that will be good to tell them like upfront, you know.
I don't, the things we have talked about in terms of go forward, 24/7 carbon, which is ambiguous.
Yeah.
How you measure that at this time, beneficial electrification. It's just those two.
I think we also had a bullet point on equity and inclusion.
Yeah, I think those go forwards are kind of what we want them to help us figure out. It's not like,
Right.
And those are like a somewhat more specific, and currently relevant
Right.
version of additionality. So we're not trying to invent. an
Yeah.
additionality
We're not,
metric.
yeah,
We're
not
trying to figure
inventing, but like, so basically we have this progress tracking spreadsheet that was never officially adopted. Is it of any use to us?
I think yes.
Okay.
We're recommending we use that retrospectively on what we've done and then figure out something that adds an element of
Okay.
additionality going forward.
Okay. I just wanted to,
additionality is not really the right word there.
right,
It's like
yeah,
pushing for something that is
more reflective of like how much renewable energy is generated by Netherland residents or contributed by Netherland
Yeah.
residents.
the like renewable energy grid health
Yeah.
of Netherland.
Or what if we frame it on equity, right? Since like our renters can't necessarily, I mean, they could buy RECs, right? But they can go into a community solar garden subscription and save money. You know, they can save 5% potentially on their bill credit. So
And
maybe it's more equity funds.
Definitely. And currently with the solar garden in the tracking spreadsheet, like those RECs are counted in Excel's baseline renewable. So we don't even like get any additional or count them for what they are, I guess.
Yeah.
So just like an example of why it should be changed.
Yeah. The other piece is I can't find the EV action plan. Does anybody know where that is? I couldn't find it online.
Oh, I definitely have it. I can email it to you.
I just wanted a link. I wanted to put it in the
Okay.
document as like some of the cool things that have been done that tie into the larger conversation, right?
Thought it was on our website. We'll look.
See it there either. There it went. Thank you.
If it's not on our website, I can add it and send that link. We are getting a new website soon, but we still don't know when that is. So
Twice as long as you think it'll take.
yeah.
Great. Action items, end of day tomorrow, need to have a revised version so it can go out. I think I have what I need to do a reasonable revision on that. Slides look good. I think can talk about this now or during probably better during sustainability coordinator updates, but seems like we've had good traction with Sun and considering a possible sunset of the residential ITC.
Yes.
It might be nice to organize themselves to push harder on subscriptions to the extent that's possible.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, let's pin that for sustainability coordinator.
Yeah, I'll talk more about it during that.
Scorecard subcommittee. So I just added a bit more to the document from last time. There's not a whole lot more in there. And then my draft possible agenda for the meeting was on that last page, for the work session was on that last page. So I don't really have anything to say, but if anyone has questions or suggestions or anything, speak up.
I did want to just let you know that the board asked John to write an aim basically about the scorecard and the Netherland planning process specifically to like address that. So it will be in the packet.
Yeah.
But like you'll be able to read that before the meeting and everything. But I think it's supposed to go along with this item.
Is there a way I can review that before it goes to the packet?
I will ask John. Because
I just want to make sure the history is correct.
right. Yeah. I don't know if it talks so much historically. I think it just, I'm not sure.
Talks
Yeah.
about like their VOT discussions to get where we're at now, like in the last year or whatever,
Yeah.
which is fine. I understood that I was gonna be working with staff on an aim and did not get any communication, so this is what I can provide.
Yes.
And I would like to review.
Yeah. I just didn't want that to be like a surprise either. Yeah.
My comments are, this looks great. It's covers everything I would want it to cover. It leans historical, so what we have done, and I would hope that we have the opportunity to talk about and work with the BOT on like what could this be. And my axe to grind there is like get something into people's hands accessible early in the design process that gives them some like more concrete guidelines, right? And whether that is something that leads into the scorecard or not. I think that's where you can kind of get the most change in the process and make it run the most smoothly. And it's in there. So I'm stoked about that.
And then is that also? Cause I sent it to you yesterday, but I saw that the packet hasn't been posted yet. So
No.
is that also then by tomorrow or?
Yes. So yeah. So like we're waiting on Jack's draft not draft statement.
Cause
Yeah,
I see
it's
Erica
okay.
making a few updates in here, so just pull
Okay,
the newest version of this from,
okay, because I already sent it to Macy with the accessible version.
Okay.
End of day tomorrow is too late for you then, yeah.
keep
So
your notes, Erica. We'll just go over. it.
Macy technically sends it out and posts it, and I think she tries to do that by Friday. And so if you send it to me late, like I can always ask her to add it and resend it, but it's like it kind of depends on if she is working, if she has the time, that sort of thing.
I will try to get it to you by the morning.
Okay.
Open a business so that that's not.
And yeah, I don't know. That's the timeline I was told. So
Great.
Thank you for working on that.
No worries. Sorry, I was reachable.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna throw this out there, and I know this isn't super helpful this late in the game. But I do think I want to ask Melody, like, having just gone through the scorecard, writing up this document, which is so robust. And to Jack's comment about, the historical, and it's been around for 13 years, 14 years, like, where do you see the process could be improved? Where do you see that it might need to adapt to become a little bit more useful or relevant? And maybe there isn't an answer to that. Maybe it's as robust as it can be now. But I'd just love to hear your thoughts, since you know it the most out of all of us.
I mean, personally, other than the language around natural gas, I don't see a whole lot of it that needs to be severely changed. I think fixing some inconsistencies that we pointed out is definitely helpful. But I don't know that I have particular feedback on that, other than I know we want to use it a lot more than we actually are able / allowed to. And so that's why the other kind of like, where do we go from here bullet point is about, and this was when Nicole was our board liaison. We talked about doing a pared down version of it for policy that the BOT could just use in general. So I think there's room for creating simpler versions based on what we have for different lower level projects. But for the high level projects, it really does a great job of getting into the nitty gritty of different specific details of the project and making you think about ways it could improve.
That's all really helpful. Thanks. And how has it been integrated in the past? Because it does feel like there was a lot of action with the scorecard. Historically, I just wonder if there's ways that we can like officially integrate this into like process, or if it's just a familiarity thing.
Yeah, so historically, and I won't speak for any current staff because we, are just now trying to figure out how to go through it with them, but historically, it's been if we have a staff member that is particularly passionate about sustainability, they do a really good job of making sure town is on top of it and asks for our SAB input, etc. And when we don't have a staff member that's like that, we kind of get left out of the loop and we have to jump in and advocate for ourselves as a board and say, hey, we need to do a scorecard on this project. It's a big one. So it's kind of ebbed and flowed depending on who's there. So when we had Chris around, he was very active about putting all the public works projects through the scorecard. Prior to that, would have been maybe Jason. I don't know who the staff member was, but when we built the new town shop, they put it through the SAB scorecard and they said they were going to take all our recommendations, and then they ended up cutting like half of those recommendations out of the project later on. So it's really fluctuated over time.
That sounds like every project I
true?
worked on late in my early career. And he's like, cool, we're gonna start with the store guard, we're gonna set the bar high
Yeah.
and then.
And the town shop isn't lead, right?
No,
No,
I'm just
and
saying
that
like the
was one of the
process
things
of.
they said they were gonna do is
Well-
get it LEED Gold certified. That was on the SAB recommendations. It's why it got the score it got on the scorecard, and then they didn't end up doing it because it cost too much.
Right. There's also a resolution that the BOT passed in 2004 that I found that says like all new buildings for town should be LEED certified.
Yes, and it
So-
is a non-binding. It is
Yeah.
a non-binding board resolution that later boards refused to follow.
So I think that needs to be updated and reiterated.
So again, it's kind of the ebb and flow of who's on the BOT, who's in town staff,
Hmm.
who's got the passion for the environment, and when there's nobody in those positions with it,
Hmm.
it falls behind, which is why a sustainability coordinator position is so important to make sure that there's at least one person there.
Right, but I would push back a little bit, Melody. I think.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of passionate staff and board members, not just on the Sustainability Advisory Board, but the Board of Trustees and ProSab. And I'm wondering if this is an opportunity to do a better job of communication and documentation. I wonder if maybe there's like a sustainability onboarding checklist that we can develop for staff and board members to say, hey, look, because I didn't know there was a LEED certification. Like, thanks for finding that, Cass. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's hard to sift through all this historical documentation and things that have come before us. And some of it has been really controversial, right? Like the sidewalks. So I do wonder if this is something that might be worth our time to really create a checklist, to create some type of documentation resource that's really easy for people to find and for people to kind of follow along and to know, oh, cool, this is why this is the way it is. Or we have tried this. This is what didn't work, or this is what worked, and this is the outcome. I think this might be a cool opportunity for this board.
Yeah, and just for the record, for any public who watches this meeting later, the Sustainability Advisory Board did not recommend the current sidewalks that we are frustrated with. That was
Right.
not a recommendation from this board.
But it was incredibly controversial, right? That was Board of Trustees member, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but we could talk, Melanie, we could talk about the greenhouse. We can talk about Boulder County grant applications. We can talk about like, I think there's a lot of really powerful stuff to talk about, and to say these are the surveys that have been done. This is the information. This is the values that have been shared by residents over and over again. Just documenting that information and trying to like just keep it going. And building on it, right? When you know what has been done in the past, it can be helpful for moving forward more successfully.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I've done what I can with my time as far as trying to document all those things in a reasonable, logical place. That the issue is when it comes to official town materials and BOT materials outside of SAB's control. There's been a lot of things that have been lost, and there's nothing we have necessarily as control over that, and town staff really do their best to make sure records are kept. It's just how unfortunate a small town is that things have fallen through the cracks. So there, as an example, there are all sorts of resolutions that were never really published anywhere. And so it's really hard to find historical record of them, or there might be a mention of it in the BOT meeting notes, but there's no document that anyone can find that actually shows you what they passed. So there's inconsistencies like that we're not going to be able to get around other than just improving as we move forward. But as far as SAB stuff goes, I've tried. But I'm happy to, think about and brainstorm any other ways to kind of improve that. Like, I got no input for you, so please give feedback.
One thing I was just thinking is like a timeline. Like if we get a timeline on the website, like that could be really cool. And to think about when these things have come up, maybe some like big times, big dates, for sustainability or different initiatives in the town. And just trying to think about a different way of sharing this information. But I'd love to hear from the rest of y'all, like, how can we do this better? Melody, your internal documentation is fantastic, by the way. Like the drive is amazing. You're so good at that. And like getting all the materials up and communicated. Just, I personally am on an evolution right now of just how do we tell our story better and how do we connect with more people with all that's kind of happening. And I think you can do a really good job of it. And it's still, you're working with humans and we all interpret information and receive information in different ways. So it's all about like how many different ways can we engage and really try to bring people along. And I don't think it's ever a perfect, it's always a practice.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I really know, and other people have told me they don't agree with me on this, so take it with a grain of salt, but it's like, you kind of have to, at least in my experience, put out your communication in 10 different ways. And that is what captures everybody. Because 20% are gonna see it over here and 10% are gonna see it here and 5% are gonna see it this, because some people are visual learners, some people are auditory, right? And so there's all these different ways that people intake that information. And so the more ways we can get it out there, the better. Again, just my personal opinion.
I agree with that. I think especially with some of the like communications work I've had to take over at the town, like
Yeah.
I've been noticing when we really put in more effort, get it out on multiple platforms and different ways, like we see so much more of a response.
Tactically, I don't know if or where there's a diagram of how the like planning approvals process, actually, if Britt is still on, how the planning and approvals.
She said her power went out, so her internet's out.
For
Classic.
building permits or for like the Netherlands planning process?
Yes, both is like, just like whenever the scorecard would be triggered, like put it in with, put it in with the documentation of that process. 'Cause if I'm
And I
a
think,
developer looking to do it, I'm doing my research. I'm looking for that. I'm not looking for sustainability approvals.
You're
And
not
so,
looking outside of
yeah.
it, yeah.
So it's like, I mean, that's one simple step in like mapping out, okay, like for the scorecard, take a look at it when you're at the idea stage, fill it out, or like fill it out for yourself here, submit it, or like request a response from SAB here.
yeah, so my understanding is that the scorecard would only rate private projects if they were going through like a special review use.
Yeah.
Right, and that special review. And so Miranda had it as part of that, but we don't really have a lot of those that come up. And
Yeah.
so really it's been applied to town of Netherlands owned run projects. And I think where one of the things we're kind of in the weeds about right now, and we'll have to talk with the BOT about at the work session, is what is town investment mean? What determines when the town is so invested that a scorecard is pulled?
Mm.
So for the Teens Inc. daycare, it's on town land, so should a scorecard be pulled? I would say yes. Or because it's a private project and not a town project, would it not be required? And then therefore we would just ask them, will you please go through this process?
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think we're in support of working on a slimmed down process for the private projects that we could then apply and rate, but it won't take us,
I'd
you know,
almost,
4 hours each to go through it.
I know we're in the weeds in a place where maybe we don't need to be, but I'd almost recommend do request, like as part of the building permit, request a self-filled out version of it. And don't involve us, like, in my mind, like, getting someone to think about these design decisions as early in the process as possible is the biggest benefit you can have. Cause like, I think it's unlikely that SAB would be, that it's, would be a hard ask to have SAB be part of the approvals process for building permits, like both huge lift and, like, that's, I can only imagine that would be somewhat unpopular. But self-filled out something where you just get to see the information, get to see how like you would look at this from a sustainability lens can be really helpful. From my experience.
I think we could definitely develop something from the scorecard that makes sense as a form for people to kind of self-evaluate. But I would be hesitant to just saying whatever version of the scorecard we update to just have people fill that up, because it is very long and very tedious. And so, but I see what you're saying, and I think it's a helpful part of the process.
Yeah, and I won't say anything more on this, but I actually think something long and detailed, not excessively so, but like going through the process of seeing how this would be evaluated and like, you know, what is a bug rating? What is uplighting? Like that
I mean,
is really beneficial, even if you don't end up like, you're not getting evaluated and like, no, we're not doing that. We want our string lights in the backyard, right? Like that's totally fine. Now you have one more step in a process that likely wouldn't be, like you're not going to get disapproved from filling it out anyways, right? And I think that would be a pretty, like, you know, unrecommending a private project would be pretty high bar.
Yeah, I guess it depends on if we're talking mandatory or voluntary. I guess
Sure.
we always kind of, so my arena is from voluntary, not punitive. So I was coming at it from a voluntary perspective. And if you're getting somebody to fill that out voluntarily, we've been trying to get people into the Colorado Green Business Program for several years. And one of the biggest hurdles is how long and detailed that application is. And all the business owners are overworked. And so they just simply don't have the time, even if they really, really want to go through it.
Unless you run on crystals and happiness, and then you get gold certified, like the crystal of happiness.
I know, I'm working on my updated survey this year, so hopefully we'll stay gold.
Jack, just for the record, I like that idea. And I also think that it could also just be a wish list, which is something that I've had other conversations about, but like, can you avoid gas infrastructure altogether to your building? Can you increase insulation? Can you build passive, you know, so that you have the solar heating? Those types of things that people might not even be thinking about, right? And I think for me, the whole building electrification piece is quality of life, right? Like it's a more comfortable home when it's all electric. And I know that's a little bit of a sticky point, but if we have new builds that are super efficient, like there's no reason why a heat pump shouldn't work, right? With maybe some, I don't know, we could think about it, right? But I like where you're at. I think that's a cool idea.
Thanks.
I could have sworn we at least had like a checklist or a list of some kind that was provided to folks. And maybe this was when Cynthia was clerk and it hasn't happened since then. But I could have sworn we had one that said like, can you install solar, get a solar evaluation and want to be even more energy efficient? Here's the things you can do to go above code. God, I thought we had that somewhere.
Like email to people or?
And maybe it was something that was worked on and never actually passed. Oh, I see something that Garrett.
That sounds familiar, and it sounds like something
Yeah.
Cynthia would do.
Yeah,
Cass, I don't know if you would have any access to documents like that, or if Cynthia has like an old file.
I might have access. I'm just not sure where to look. Do you know in what format she would have been like sending that? It would be like email to developers or?
it would have been on the old website,
It would have been on a website. Okay.
the old town website.
Before the one we currently have?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sometimes available on the Wayback Machine, but I don't know that they source like any linked documents that
Right.
would have been available, which is how it would have been, like a link somewhere.
Okay.
Efficiency.
I can look for that. But might not be worth spending time waiting.
Yeah, I'll look through things too and see if I can find anything that would put you in the right direction.
So some really wonderful discussion on the scorecard. Do we have obvious next action item is discussion with DOT in the work session? Sounds kind of like we're prepared for that. Is there anything that you want to tackle between now and then?
I think, if everybody feels like they have clarification on the process and they don't have any other questions for me of like historical, that's really what I can provide. And I feel like we're kind of on pause with any other efforts until we get DOT feedback and kind of understand where in the process this falls, because there is a planning process from 2012, but again, it's a non-binding resolution that later BOTs did not uphold. So there is no current formal written planning process internally for town of Netherland. And that's part of what has led to the confusion right now, in my understanding.
Okay.
All right. Then we can move on. Yeah, Erica.
Sorry to be a pain. I'm so consistent with being a pain, but so I'm wondering, Melody, if it might make sense to have like a mentee survey or something, so that we could start with like just a couple of baseline questions during this BOT meeting, like how familiar are you with the scorecard? How familiar are you with the planning process in Netherlands? What do you think, if you are familiar with their scorecard, what do you think are the biggest advantages of having a scorecard? Like just being able to kind of set the stage to see where to start the conversation, or like to get some really tangible information about the scorecard from everyone. I don't know, just an idea.
Erica, what kind of survey was that?
Just like a mentee where you can just do the QR code and just build a couple of questions. Yeah.
So I want to stress that you only have an hour, and I think that it's going to be tight regardless. So if you want to do a mentee survey, like I'm all for those surveys. But I think it may need to be something that you send out beforehand and have them answer before the meeting, instead of spending time having them doing it during the meeting.
This is an hour for both renewable energy goals and scorecard.
Yes.
Should we? Then we're gonna run through that so fast.
Yes.
Should we do a hard division halfway through, or how do we want to?
If you want to make sure you get to all the items, I would say yeah.
Okay, hard division halfway through.
And if we feel it's necessary, push the BOT to schedule another work session to continue conversations.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
Yeah. Grab that. I think we're just gonna have to be very efficient with those 7 slides.
Yeah, I mean, the document supports everything that's on the slides.
Mhm.
The document should be provided to them prior to the meeting and they should have had a chance to review it, so it shouldn't all be new information to them.
Yeah.
Just highlights. I don't think everything on the slide has to be read.
Great.
Correct.
I would just highlight the main things and they're gonna have the slides too, so it's good for them to.
Yep.
What's the date?
And I would delve into any nuanced questions.
July
instead of
1st
Posing to
at-
them.
6.
6. In this room?
I think they use the conference room downstairs because this is set up for their main BOT meeting. And I'm waiting on Macy to send a link, like an invitation, like a calendar invite, and I was gonna forward that to you, but I've not gotten that yet. I can always send a hold if that would be helpful
No,
for people. Okay.
So. As far as agenda. Did anyone besides the SAB give input as to what that agenda is going to look like, or did you guys just take what we put and say, yeah, sure?
So I know that John is working with Macy on that. John is at a conference, so he's been really hard to get in touch with. I did try and like call him earlier today a few times. And I'm not sure where that's at, so I was planning on tomorrow just like checking in again and seeing before they publish or the packet what that agenda looks like, which is also why I wanted you to know about the AIM because I didn't know about it until today. So
Yeah, no, and I've emailed Billy and John both and haven't really gotten a response, so.
yeah.
Meeting. Right. Anything else on the work session stuff? I'm gonna quickly note our other item, which is, since we didn't get new members, we're gonna do elections next month. And then we'll let Cass finish out for sustainability coordinator updates.
Yeah, so I attached that document, so I think a lot of it you can read through for updates and let me know if you have questions. You know, main things are really, we are still working with Switch to learn the online portal and get the charger set up for fees, the level 3. No big change in usage for the level 2. It's likely going to change once level 3 is up and running totally.
60 cents KW or
50.
50. Okay. That's great.
That's what the BOT agreed on for the fee schedule. We're getting a new website, like I said. There's going to be more to update once we have that done. I have no idea when it will be done. Yeah, there's been delays because the NDDA is wanting to have their site as like part of it. But that contract needs to be signed and I'm not sure what the holdup is. So there's some things going on in the background I'm not aware of. With the Switch Together program that is completed for the spring, I have not received an updated number. I have emailed Tanner about that, but from the last report, we had 24 people signed up and the 18th was the deadline to sign up. And so those 24 people, they still have a chance to get with a contractor and like do an assessment and those sorts of things. 5 people made a deposit to do that assessment. Last I checked, it's pretty likely, if not definite, that the federal residential clean energy credit and lots of other energy tax credits are going to sunset at the end of 2025 instead of, 2030, 2035, whatever it was before. And so that 30% tax credit that you get for installing solar or clean energy systems is going away. And so I think Boulder County, which is who we do our like Switch Together program through, is going to push pretty hard on this last round of 2025 in the fall. And so we're going to basically push the fact that we're losing the credits and we really want people to sign up before the end because you will have even less of a affordable option.
Just a small interjection. I would say that we are likely losing the credits, but it's not set in stone yet.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't want to be like
We don't
used
want
to fear mongering or
True.
something that's not true.
Yeah, no, that's true. So yeah, emphasize that it's likely that would happen. So they are doing another round of the Switch Together. And we can opt in or out. And based on like it not being a whole lot of work and getting 5 people from the spring round, I would say we should opt in. And so that's what town is leaning towards.
What
Yeah.
would the timeline for that engagement be?
I don't have the timeline in front of me.
That's
yeah.
all right.
But it's in the fall, so probably starts around September until December is my guess.
Maybe we can put a brief item on our July agenda to talk about doing some pre-work for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just some information on the waste diversion report that I got from Boulder County. It is the waste diversion report for all of the Nederland area. So not just town limits and not just the transfer station. And overall, we've seen that we have a 32% diversion rate. Overall, Boulder County has a 35% diversion rate. So we're pretty close to their average. We already talked about the restaurant composting C3 grant. We already talked about the farmers market. I went to the USDN conference. Erica was there as well for Erie and met with a lot of sustainability professionals from the Western states. Learned a lot about wildfire resilience efforts and modeling that's available. Talked a lot about effective public communication around climate change. Definitely not fear mongering was a point in there. Net zero buildings and lots of other things. So got contacts that I can reach out to for different topics. And then OSED grant for the microgrid is officially canceled along with many of other grants that they have. So we know that officially now.
Firmly canceled or like on hold?
They said canceled for this current round and they're not sure if it will come back on in the future. They just, they don't know. And then finally, there is a volunteer opportunity. I didn't finish this sentence, but essentially the June 30th is going to be a day that they're pulling weeds at Gercio Fields and potentially also Chipeta. So if you want to help with ProSab, they are meeting around 9:45 and doing that for 2 hours.
Does anyone actually use Garcia Field?
Special events do. But otherwise,
So in what place like salt?
I don't think so. I think it's just like still being, evened out. Yeah. But they're putting the compost on it and from the biosolids that we compost from our wastewater treatment plant. And they said that there's a noticeable difference where the compost has been put and where it hasn't been, with the grass just being like greener and more lush. So that's kind of cool.
Yes, I have a quick question. So I just got an email from the solar installer for the Switch Together program because I signed up just to know more about the process. And I just got an email that they've extended it to July 11th for signing the
Oh.
contract. So I didn't hear that from anyone other than the installer, but just wanted to give you a heads up.
That is good to know.
Right. And then also wanted to ask, does anybody know anything about the biochar processing that Boulder County's doing? I had heard that it was happening at the slash yard.
Other than hearing about it, no, I have no details.
Okay, cool. And then just another plug was I just participated in the Wildfire Partners $500 resilience grant. And I haven't gotten the money back, but we bought some gravel just to like put around the perimeter of our house. So I just wanted to plug, like, it was pretty darn easy to apply. I mean, I assume I'm going to get the $500 back. But I just wanted to plug that to you all and then just publicly to that, like, it's pretty darn awesome. And we just did it for gravel. I wasn't sure what that 3 feet perimeter, if that was going to be something they were going to ask a lot of questions about. And no, like, it was pretty straightforward.
Is that through Boulder County?
No, it's
Yes.
through Wildfire Partners.
Oh, it's through Wildfire Partner, but that's kind of connected to.
It is, and it's only for Boulder County residents. So I believe, and that was one of the requirements. They
Okay.
might be doing something beyond Boulder County, but at least the $500, it was my understanding that you had to be within the county. And I know they just sent an email saying they have a lot of funds left. So it might be worth plugging that if we can.
Yeah.
By social and stuff.
Also plugging the Excel heat pump stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's still,
You got yours yet? Just in time for the hot summer?
yeah. Yeah, after all the incentives, it was a 5-ton system for 11 grand.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah, it was really good. It was
Who did
cheaper
you
than I
go
could buy
with?
it before. What's up?
Who'd you go with?
A lesser known contractor. And I got a Fujitsu, they have a new ultra low temperature, like it goes to minus 15 Fahrenheit.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Minus
Hyperheat isn't the
15 or
only game in
15?
town anymore.
Minus
Sorry?
1.5? Minus 1.5?
Minus 1.5.
Is it turn off
100%.
at minus?
100% at minus, or yeah, great question. Guess we're gonna find out,
But you kept your electric.
I have baseboard electric heat, it's not like I have no backup.
5 tons? It's a big heat pump though.
It's big.
We
house.
got
It's a big
we
house.
got a 4-ton for a lot more than that, but it goes down to negative 24 and it turns off. But it's obviously not very efficient at that temp, right? But
I'm not sure what the metric was, exactly. I just know that it beat the hyperheat by 2 degrees.
Oh, great. Love not being,
speaking of
They probably
efficiency,
just, did we not just lose the internet?
oh no, maybe we just were still.
Oh, is that, is that power? No, just the way.
Okay, just turn on the internet.
Thanks, Cass.
Just the lights.
Um,
I think it would be really cool to capture some of these heat pump stories and to just share like real people, everyday needs, making it happen. I mean, it is getting warmer up here. I know today was nice and comfortable, but I'm definitely enjoying my heat pump already.
Do you want to be on social media? For the town?
As long as there's no pictures,
Can you use your name? I can use just the first name.
it's fine. It's all fine.
Why don't you call him citizen?
There's no such thing as.
You could be like turned
Closest
around.
thing
We
is
won't show your
privacy.
face.
Fine.
Okay.
Citizen, put his picture up and then one of the black bars.
I could just wear it. Shade.
It'll get attention for sure.
Are we?
Done?
Are we done?
I'm done with my updates, yeah.
Oh, yeah, everybody was just asking questions, so. If there are no other questions, I will call to adjourn the meeting at 8:32 PM. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Perfect, meeting adjourned.
Wow. That's amazing.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
See you, Erica. Take care.